Here's a breakfast I always get out of bed for. Thomas's Original Nooks and Crannies English Muffins. There's nothing quite like that irresistible Nooks and Crannies texture. Perfectly toasted, crispy edges with a soft, warm center. They're so easy to prepare. It's a quick, easy breakfast you can have on the go. You're just going to want to pull them apart. Use a fork if you have to. Separate that Thomas's English muffin into halves. Lightly toast those halves. As soon as they get out of that toaster, when they are still hot, top them with butter. Watch how it melts into those amazing little nooks and cranny spaces. Thomas's Nooks and Crannies English Muffins are a one-of-a-kind eating experience with a delicious burst of flavor in every warm, toasty, buttery bite. If you have not already, you have to try Thomas's Nooks and Crannies English Muffins. They're truly like no other. I'm a fan of strong women. Had a lot of strong women as guests on this show. I think that's been one of the real points of pride for me. So there's another show out there I want to tell you about that you might like. Want to find out what happens when women break society's unwritten and totally BS rules? Listen to Unladylike, the podcast that does just that. Hosted by the hilarious Kristen Conger and Caroline Irvin. They just kicked off season 2 with a special episode featuring comedian Nicole Byer, one of my good friends in this world. You just saw her as a guest on the Chris Gethard Show. Nicole doesn't play by anybody's rules. That's why she's amazing and beautiful and the best. It's all about how to swipe right when the dating world feels oh so wrong. Later this season, they'll tackle everything from why getting dressed for work is so hard for women to what to do when you love your kids but don't love being a mom. Listen to Unladylike now in Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. Hello to all my fans of late 80s, early 90s NBA sharpshooter Mark Price. This is Beautiful Anonymous. 1 hour, 1 phone call, no names, no holds barred.
I'd rather go one-on-one. I think it'll be more fun, and I'll get to know you, and you'll get to know me.
Hello, everybody. It's Chris Gethard. Very happy and lucky and honored and privileged to say hello and welcome to another episode of Beautiful Anonymous. I tell you, I was on the subway today. I was on the subway on the way here. I was just looking up and down the car, and there's all these people in there, New Yorkers. I'm thinking to myself, man, every one of these people has something to say that nobody else is going to listen to. And I'm on my way to go do a thing where someone like this gets to tell me a thing, and my whole job is just to listen. What a good job. And then I stop staring because New Yorkers punch you in the face if you make eye contact with them on the subway. Anyway, thank you guys so much. It's Tuesday. Happy. Hey, thanks to everybody who supported the Chris Gethard Show. You guys have heard me rambling about it. Thanks to everybody who supported. Tonight is actually the season finale. Last one. Might be the last one ever. I have no idea. Not received any news yet. And I just want to say thanks to everybody who has checked it out. I know it's not for everybody. And those who checked it out, means a lot to me. Another gig that I've been lucky to do. Thanks so much. No rest for the weary, by the way. TV show ends this week. I'm in Bloomington, Indiana on June 2nd. Chicago, Illinois, June 3rd. Right out on the road, baby. Maybe I'll meet some of you guys out there. ChrisGeth.com. You want tickets to those shows. Bloomington, Indiana, Limestone Festival. Chicago, Illinois, AV Club Festival. It's going to be a fun time. Maybe I'll see you out there. Last week's episode, Irish Wake. Someone talking about the death of a grandparent. We were just sort of like grieving together, chatting together, and then we heard a follow-up from the caller right at the end. This episode was really, I tell you, it meant a lot to people. A lot of people saying they've lost people recently, and that it kind of echoed some of theirs. Caller, I think you allowing that episode to be released actually maybe connected with some people who are going through similar stuff. That's always a cool feeling. Here's a comment that made me laugh. Told a story about my own grandpa on last weekend. A name, I apologize. I'm almost definitely going to mispronounce this, but thank you for posting. Sarfaraz, or Sarfaraz, said, I have to admit, I did think about setting my overgrown side yard on fire in my 30s. I refrained from doing it because I wouldn't know how to explain it to the neighbors. That one made me giggle. Thanks for posting that in the Beautiful Anonymous community on Facebook. Now up to close to 28,000 members. Join today. We're going to get over the hump on 30,000, become an even more powerful, unstoppable online private Facebook group full of nice people who like to discuss things with civility. That's what we are over there. This week's episode, just recorded this one a few days ago. Interesting one. We talked to a guy who is a nice guy. who's had some tough times. He had a childhood where he saw a lot, put up with a lot, had to deal with a lot. And also a lot of people in his family maybe are still dealing with a lot. Some of the people closest to him, he's watching them deal with a lot. And what's he doing? He's trying to do his part to maybe reshape the world into what he wishes it could have been for him growing up. That's one of the things I've always noticed is whenever I've been through my hard times, I know I'm coming out of them when I go, I got to try to do something to maybe help out the other people who feel this way, feel these hard times. And I think this caller's right in that moment in his life. Hard times are a fact. What do I do to try to make things easier for the world around me? Pretty inspiring stuff. I liked it. I think you'll like it too. Enjoy.
Thank you for calling Beautiful Anonymous. A beeping noise will indicate when you are on the show with the host.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi.
Hi, is this Chris?
Yeah, it's Chris.
Hey, man, how's it going?
How's it going? I tell you, it's going pretty well. We're taping this at the Chris Gethard Show office. Harry and Jared came down here to help save me some time since I got 2 full-time jobs right now, and had a lot of trouble setting up the rig. We were getting a radio station in our ears, and it was stressing us all out. But I think we've all worked it out. You don't hear like a bunch of PC Richards ads in the background, do you?
No, not at all.
Oh, that's good.
No, you're good. I saw the photo. I thought that was a pretty innovative mic setup there with the peanut cans. I was pretty impressed by that.
Well, they're cashews to be accurate, but yes, the microphone that I am talking to you with is on my desk in my office, which is a mess, and it's balanced on 2 cans of cashews. That's the mic setup.
Oh, you're right. My bad. I don't want to offend the mixed nuts community by identifying the wrong brand of nut there.
Well, we all know that the nut enthusiast community comes really hard at people for inaccuracies. So.
Oh, they're hard. They're hardcore. They're not fucking around with like Mr. Peanut and like that's their guy. Like
yeah. Now, how are you doing?
You know what? I'm good. I just basically like right now in a pretty crazy stage of life where getting ready to move away from essentially the place, like the region I've lived my whole life, to a brand new state. Just like me and my wife and our dog kind of heading out on a new adventure because of some crazy life circumstances. Just felt like it was a good time to do that and take the leap and take the risk. But, that's like right now. But, I won't dig into it all, like just unload on you, but there's just so much of like a crazy story that I have to even get to this point. So, but that's kind of like the big thing, right now, the last several months have just been, getting ready to make that move and, saying goodbye to people can be really, I don't know, I'm sure you've gone through like major life transitions as well. It can be really bittersweet in a lot of ways. So it's kind of where we're at right now,
Yeah. Now, when you say you don't plan on unloading your crazy life story on me, do you actually mean you do?
Oh, I'm for sure going to do that.
Awesome.
I just didn't want to do it like all up top, have more of a conversation than me just talking at you for like 15 minutes. So.
Right. Oh, I got it. So you didn't want to just launch into it. Also, you can hear the stunning sounds of New York City behind me. I apologize, everybody, for that. Po, the 5-0 chasing somebody down. Through a construction site, it sounds like. My bad on that. Anyway, everybody's just going to have to get used to the sounds of New York City behind us on this one. So you're moving, crazy life circumstances. What are the points of entry? What are the bullet points that get us into this story?
Yeah. So, I mean, it always feels kind of weird for me to tell my story, to be honest, because I've been in a position, like trying not to give away a lot about myself. I've been in a position where I've been able to speak in public a lot and, have been on like podcasts on the radio, just different like media coverage, sharing my story because it's tied a lot to the work that I do currently. So it always feels like I try to share it in a way when I share it that feels new and isn't just me kind of like being a robot and giving you like the PR version of my life. You know what I mean? I'm sure you can obviously relate to that on some level. When you're just, you're someone that's communicating a lot, it can start to feel maybe repetitive or like you're just going through the same beats, So I try to, I want to tell it to you because I appreciate this the show and the space so much in a way that, I'm able to also personally connect with it when I'm sharing it. But basically, to give you the bullet points. So I grew up in a situation where my mom and dad just, I don't want to throw either of them under the bus, but they just didn't have a great relationship, a great marriage, to say the least. And that led to situations where I can remember vividly at the age of 6, like staying in a domestic violence shelter with my mom. My dad eventually went to prison when I was 10 or 11 for stealing from his company, embezzling. He had a job. My mom I don't think worked. She did a few things on the side, but we were always able to afford stuff. And I even remember thinking as a kid, wondering how we were able to do that. And turns out, it's because he was stealing, taking more than he was getting paid. And, so that led to me barely kind of seeing him over the next year or so when I was a kid. And then when a couple months after he got out of prison, I remember one night pretty vividly that he and my mom just got into the worst fight they've ever had. And I remember him going into the kitchen and just banging his head on the sink over and over, trying to just harm himself. And, to make a very long part of the story short, the next 10 years of my life from kind of being in middle school to college was, that obviously affected me personally to where I got suspended a ton in middle school. I actually it's funny looking back now, it wasn't funny then, but I almost got expelled for hitting a kid, the only kid in the school, mind you, that was geekier and nerdier than I was. I almost got expelled for hitting him with a math book because he was annoying me. So that wasn't a good situation, but just going through all that, it was rough. And then, I only saw my dad a few times over the next 10 years. And, our family struggled after that. We got tons of stuff repossessed. My mom, just single mom, me and my sister. So struggling to pay the bills every month. And, that kind of all culminated when I was in college. There was a couple years where I got to reconnect with my dad. He connected with me actually, cause he lived in another state with his parents, when he and my mom were separated. Technically restraining order, but we'll call it separated. But he would get a hold of me on MySpace, going old school there. He would reach out to me on MySpace and we got to reconnect. But there was this whole year in 2010, I want to say, where, I'd been reconnecting with my dad. I had gotten to see him in person, that summer of 2010. But then a couple months after that, he suddenly passed away. I remember getting a call coming out of one of my college classes and just kind of slumped there on the floor, was crying, had a bunch of professors and fellow students, whatever, kind of helping me up and helping me out through that day as I processed that information about him passing away suddenly. And then a couple months after that, just, through a couple different circumstances, my mom and my sister ended up in a place where they didn't have a home. So when I say homelessness, I don't mean in the sense that most people think of it, where we were, out on the street and, whatever the picture is people might have of homelessness, but just in the real sense that a lot of people face homelessness, where it can be very transient and you don't have a place to stay, or if you do, it's not stable. And so somebody just paid for them to be in a motel for a month until they found a new place, which, thank God they eventually did. But again, they were kicked out of the place they were living, couldn't go back to the, old home that we had. So, I had to stay I remember staying with a friend over that winter break. And so we were going through all that. And the nice little cherry on top was the girl I was dating that summer ended up dumping me, in between those two things happening. So that was fun. But obviously paled in comparison to the rest of it. So, fast forward, that was a big, rock bottom point in our family. And, if it wasn't for the people that were in my life at the time and now, kind of the, surrogate family and community I had, I know for a fact I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So, eventually things improved a little bit, but, to be quite honest, my family outside of just like me, and my wife, and her family has their own baggage, but mine's a lot different. But outside of us and our immediate family, it's still been a struggle to this day. So, I mean, those are some of the like big bullet points. But all that to say, I never thought I'd be in a position on this day where I'd have any kind of success as a person whatsoever. One of the things I left out of there is I spent a solid weekend in a juvenile detention center when I was in middle school for, kind of reenacting what I had seen my dad play out when I was young. And I got in a major fight with my mom and sister and just went nuts. And, cops came and got me, and I stayed a weekend till I could see a judge. And, they let me go easy. But, all that to say, like, all those circumstances, life definitely could have turned into something different. So to be in a position where, we can make a big move, we can take a new adventure, we can, the fact I even have the great life that I do, it's crazy to me, so.
Wow. So you didn't have a very fair shot. You didn't have a very firm foundation out there.
No, I guess not. But honestly, I've been listening to the show for a while. To be honest, since I'm one of those people that jumped on the train after This American Life. I was like, who's this Chris Gethard guy? Like, what is this? And I've been a fan ever since.
Thanks.
And all that to say, like, I've heard a lot of the stories and I've heard your story, and to me, like, I would agree with you that maybe not a fair shot, but I think I actually don't know that I would be who I am or be where I'm at without any of it, as shitty as it all was. And I think that can be said of a lot of people, that the shit we go through like that can actually help us come out good on the other end. And I understand for a lot of people that's not how it works, but I guess in a weird way I'm thankful for it.
Yeah, I get that. When you fight and you feel like you managed to claw your way to the other side of something, it's like it is funny with this podcast. I've been able to talk to so many people, and a lot of them do kind of have some dark stories, and I find that that's universal in a weird way, of that thing where you're like, yeah, I wouldn't trade it though. Like me, I wouldn't trade all the years that I kind of went nuts, got real sad for no reason. I wouldn't trade them. They turned me into who I am. But man, they were rough. I got a lot of questions for you, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of them might be painful, but that's how I do. You've been listening to the show for a while, you know that. Yeah,
I'm good with that. That's that's one of the things I love about it. Like, let's get deep, man. Let's go.
Okay. I have a few. Okay, I'm gonna start with the hardest one so we can get it out of the way. As far as just what I've heard, I'm sure there will be more hard ones to come. But the whole situation with your dad, I mean, man, that sounds like a really rough set of circumstances to see growing up. Sounds like he was, really a character, to say the least. Here's a question I have: is when he leaves your life, and then I'm sure you have so many feelings. You've seen him be violent. You understand that he committed crime. A lot of, I think, your pain, you probably can attribute to that, it sounds like. So now you reconnect with him. And then he passes away suddenly. I would have to imagine there's a part of you that feels grateful to have reconnected with him, and there's a part of you that must feel like, why did life do that? Was that almost harder to have reconnected when he passed away?
Yeah, first of all, I have to say I'm terrible at processing grief. So the reality is that, it's been like almost 8 years this September, and I still don't think I've let myself fully, go through the emotions of something like that. I'm somebody that I don't know if it's, I don't know what it is. I just try and keep a pretty, I'm good. I try and push some of that stuff down. But to answer your question, I thought of it both ways. So I see a universe where we never reconnected, and I can maintain that level of detachment from him so that when he passes away, it's maybe not as affecting as it was the other way, because we were building a relationship, and he was trying his best. He was helping me out in school to pay for stuff. He was excuse me, like I said, we were trying to reconnect, and then it just felt like it was all taken away suddenly. But I got to be honest, where I landed at the end of the day, quite simply, is that I know so many people that have family issues or have lost loved ones that have never gotten to have any type of closure whatsoever. So granted, while it was sudden and it was, the cherry on top of a really crappy situation, and just feeling like I never really had a dad my whole life and how that's affected me. At the end of the day, I just landed where I was thankful, and I don't mean to sound like positive to the point where I'm like washing over it, but I was just truly thankful that we got to reconnect and that we got to talk and say, I love you, say I'm sorry, say I forgive you. Because when he sat down and shared his story with me of like he filled in the gaps of those 10 years, I actually took pity on the man, because apparently after that whole thing where I left off, where he and my mom had that fight and he's out of the picture, the next 10 years for him are living in like a local homeless shelter for a while, being down and out, like just getting into all sorts of, he always had like addiction issues when it came to like sexual things, especially. So like he would get into all sorts of crazy stuff with that, like going to he just seemed really down now. Like he told me he'd go to strip clubs. Like he would just get into all this stuff. He was homeless. He was, so he had his own level of shit that he was going through within that 10 years. So all that to say, when we met up, actually, like I said, I was thankful for that. And I took pity on the guy, and, well, he's trying to turn his life around. By that point, he was managing a restaurant. He was taking care of his parents, and he was trying to get his life back on track when we reconnected. And he was willing to apologize, and I was willing to accept it. So at the end of the day, it was a good thing,
So you did manage,
even though there was a level of injustice to it, like what the hell.
So you did manage to forgive him in the end.
Yeah, I'm bad at forgiveness too. I'm bad at that also. But I think with him, to me, it was more than just saying I forgive you, which I did say that. It was over the next 8 years since his passing, holding a memory of him that, like, man, I'm thankful that we shared those few months together, if nothing else.
Right.
I think more about that than the shitty stuff,
That's good. I mean, that's a good gift at the end, right? I feel bad I asked that question.
No, not at all. Don't feel bad. It's all good, man.
Yeah, because there's a part of me that's like, man, this guy he's beating people up and causing all this chaos. Maybe you want him to go away and just never see him again. Maybe reconnecting's more painful. But that is good to hear that forgiveness does. I don't think it's bullshit that being able to look someone in the eye, say what you have to say, hear what they have to say back, and then forgive it has some healing qualities in a real way. I think that's good to hear.
Yeah, for sure.
So you were, I'm actually pretty, I get a little worked up when I hear stories like yours. Cause you were, were you like that kid in school? In the sense of like, my town had a bunch of kids like this, and I always thought it was so fucking unfair, if I'm being honest. You had kids who had maybe landed in some circumstances not of their choosing, who had to be tough or had to live a little tough or were a little rougher on the edges. And there's one kid in particular I was friends with who, I gotta say, your story really reminds me of. Especially when you're saying like you were the nerdy kid. I mean, you got expelled for hitting someone with a math book. That kind of tells a lot. That image tells a lot about the two sides of you, right?
Yeah. Oh, and mind you, it was the kid that, like, if I was the least liked and most bullied kid in school, it was the kid that just edged me out for the crown in our school that I did that to. But so maybe I was resenting him. I don't know. Maybe I wanted to be the nerdiest. Who knows?
But you're still almost getting expelled. How do you look back at like when you're a kid, when you're a kid and you're in those rough circumstances, and teachers respond by trying to expel you? I guess what I'm trying to ask. I'm sorry I'm rambling so much. It's like, do you look back at how other adults handled you and have any resentment or questions. I always felt like there were kids in my town who people knew had it rough. And those kids, adults just kind of gave them shit, man. Did you run into that?
Yeah, I did. I get what you're saying. I will say the most shit I got by far was from my peers, my fellow students.
Really?
I got bullied and harassed all the time. I mean, just endlessly, relentlessly.
Oof.
And it was one of those classic situations. So, I'm a Cavs fan, right? And so sometimes people will accuse LeBron, or I was watching the Pacers Cavs series, and Lance Stevenson just kept like bugging him and annoying him and bullying him.
Yeah,
and
he
then
did.
he'd react. Yeah, he did. Which I'm not going to defend LeBron. Like, he can. Anyway, so I do want to defend LeBron, but
Hey, look,
that's
he's
not
the king.
there.
The world is realizing
so
the world is starting to realize, and I'm a big NBA fan myself. This guy might officially be holding a flame to Jordan, and it's starting to be taken real seriously. He's also there's people going to start taking some shots at the king. Lance Stevenson's going to blow in your ear every once in a while when you're the king. I don't think anybody doubts that he's the greatest player. I was lucky. I'm of an age where I remember watching Jordan beat up on my New York Knicks back in the 90s. Got to see them both play live. I mean, LeBron is clearly the closest thing, right?
Oh, for sure. So, all right, let's 30-second sidetrack here. So,
Yeah.
Who, in your opinion, is the greatest NBA player of all time?
We got to pause right there. I want everybody, because I know Beautiful Anonymous fans, universally sports fans as well. Everybody take a breath. Think of who your favorite NBA player of all time is. Who's the best in your mind? Ponder it. Take it seriously. And while you're doing so, we got ads coming up. So check out these products and services. Use the promo codes. It helps the show when you do. We'll be right back with more phone call. Studying for standardized tests doesn't have to be boring or stressful. Magoosh Online Test Prep provides students everywhere with effective, accessible, and enjoyable test prep for exams like the GRE, GMAT, ACT, SAT, and IELTS. At magoosh.com, you'll find tons of practice questions, study schedules, video lessons, and access to our expert tutor team if you need extra help. If you're retaking the test, Magoosh offers a score improvement guarantee. Study materials are always up to date and super relevant to the questions students will be answering on the actual tests. Here's a few testimonials from students who have used and loved Magoosh. Quote, I liked that it was an online prep tool, and when I read about its video lessons, flashcard apps, and score predictors, I was sold. These features are unique and a refreshing change from the commonplace prep tools that offer practice questions and practice tests. End quote. Here's another one. Magoosh seemed to be by far the best option, a program I could use whenever I liked, following my own schedule. Here's yet another endorsement from Magoosh. When I saw my score, I was so happy I wanted to cry. Visit Magoosh, that's MAGOOSH.com. Enter the promo code BEAUTIFUL for a 20% off discount. Happy to be here telling you about a podcast that I think is really an amazing thing, a podcast I've been a guest on, a podcast that is always fun, that's hosted by one of the true original people in this world. On the show Who Charted, comedian Howard Kramer brings on his funniest friends to discuss the top 5 songs and movies of the week. You guys would love Howard. He's real original. He's a real character. Like I said, he's a true gentleman of New Jersey, and I've only connected with him once or twice in my life, but we really hit it off. Hope I get to catch up with him again soon because he's great. And his podcast, Who Charted, is great. Recently, he's been joined by Natasha Leggero as co-host. You may know from shows like Another Period or the Honeymoon Stand-Up Special on Netflix. Talk about everything from mumble rap to new country music, debate Neil Young versus Jimmy Buffett, and which movies seem too loud. Plus, each episode, Howard, Natasha, and the guest also share their hot picks with listeners, things that they recommend over all the garbage on the charts. Recent guests include actor and writer Ben Schwartz, comedians John Early and Kate Berlant, and Earwolf's own Paul F. Tompkins. So listen to Who Charted on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks to all the advertisers who help us bring Beautiful Anonymous into the world. Now let's get back to the phone call.
30-second sidetrack here. So Who, in your opinion, is the greatest NBA player of all time?
I mean, Michael Jordan.
Having seen both.
Michael Jordan is the best. But then you start to read stats that are like LeBron's never lost a first-round playoff series and Jordan lost 3. And you're like, yeah. And then you're like, LeBron went to the finals 7 years in a row. That's insane. But he didn't close on all of them, and make all the excuses about his supporting staff that you want. He's had other all-stars in there too. You know, obviously Pippen, I think, is in the running for one of the most underrated or undervalued players of all time because he's always in the shadow of Jordan. Pippen probably could have carried an entire team by himself elsewhere. That being said, I still got to go with Jordan, right? I mean, he set the world on fire. I don't know if LeBron's quite done that in the same way.
No, so I live in, I think I can at least say that much.
Mm-hmm.
And so I grew up watching Jordan. I mean, I'm almost 30, so I am younger, but I'm old enough that I remember watching Jordan as a kid and thinking, I hate this guy because he's so effing unstoppable and he's always going to win, and the NBA sucks because he's just going to win championship year after year after year. Oh, he's playing baseball? Thank God. Oh, he went to the Wizards? Awesome. Get him out of here. So the specter of what Michael Jordan did is loomed so large that you just forget about, you know, some of the stats, like he didn't, you know, all the success he didn't have from like when he was drafted to that first championship and all the struggles and the fact that he retired twice. And so I'm as a irrational, I'm like, you know, I'm going to tweet out LeBron GOAT all day, every day. But as a rational NBA fan, I'd probably have to agree. It's probably Jordan and then LeBron right now.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I had the Knicks. At least we were going to the playoffs when he beat up on us every year. You guys had what? Mark Price? Was he your best player back then? The Cavs.
Yeah, I mean, we had Mark Price, Craig Elo, Larry Nance Sr. You know, we had Brad Doherty. We had some stuff rocking. So
yeah.
It wasn't, you know, it was okay.
We're talking Larry Nance Sr. Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, which oddly enough, I think I went to church with Mark Price when I was a kid. I think I met him anyway, so yeah, I'm a total homer.
I have to say, fans of this podcast are known for loving honesty, humor, empathy, emotional vulnerability. This is the deepest we've ever delved into sports. You and me talking about going to church with Mark Price, the white guy sharpshooter from the 80s Cavs.
Listen, man, if we had another hour, I would just talk sports with you for a whole hour. I talk sports. I talk WWE. Like, I was the biggest wrestling fan all through high school.
All-time top five.
I had all the action figures.
All-time top five. All-time top five.
All-time top five WWE? All right. Oh, man, putting me on the spot here. So do I have to go, like, objective best, or can I go favorite?
Favorites. Wrestling is fake. You can go favorites.
Okay. Definitely Undertaker.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
I gotta go Kane. I loved, maybe it was my dark childhood. I don't know. I just loved the vibe. I love the vibe they had. Third would probably be Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Fourth, honestly, Goldberg. Like, that dude was unstoppable. Like, he had like 150 wins in a row. Like, nobody could beat Goldberg. And then probably fifth was, like, honestly, Kevin Nash, because I'm a really tall guy, so maybe I just related to the big sexy part of it, you know, like powerbombing people. So yeah. Oh crap! Forgot about The Rock. I'm gonna have to do like top 10. All right, never mind. All right.
Yeah, I go Ric Flair, Roddy Piper, Jake the Snake Roberts, $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and I throw the Great Muta in there. He was I'm a little older than you. He's a WCW guy, and I've been going back watching all the Tiger Mask matches from the early '80s. Insane. Anyway, nice. So you got picked up. Let's get back on track. You got picked. So
can I ask you one last question about wrestling?
Yeah, we could just talk the whole time about wrestling if you want. We could. I'd love that.
I'm sorry. Did you watch the Andre the Giant doc?
Yes, I did. I thought it was great.
What did you think?
I liked it. I liked that they showed his human side. It's tough because, you know, you hear all these stories about his drinking and how he couldn't use regular bathrooms and all this stuff, and then I think that documentary did a good job of realizing, like, oh yeah, those are urban myths, and there's something so funny about hearing how a guy that big has to poop on a plane, but then also you got to remember it made him such an oddity, and his life was full of a lot of like pain and isolation, and I thought it showed all the different sides of a very interesting life. Kudos to HBO for putting out dynamite content like the Andre the Giant documentary and Career Suicide. Thank you for that.
I was going to say it for you so you didn't have to,
I'll go there.
I was going to be like, and Career Suicide. But
well, no, I'm shameless. I'm happy to go there. What if we ignored your whole life story and talked about wrestling for the remaining 33 minutes of this call?
Wrestling and 80s basketball. And
oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, Mark Price.
early 90s.
Listen, man, I wouldn't be upset by that, but I feel like maybe some of the listeners would be
Yeah.
like, hey, what the heck? What about their stuff?
We've teased a lot of stuff. We have teased a lot of stuff. You were saying, though, so these other kids, so you took it on the chin from the other, so you already got it at home where you're around a lot of violence, a lot of instability. Now you're going to school, and the other kids, do you feel like they maybe sensed your vulnerability? Was it like that thing? Like they just sensed that you were prey and they were predators? Was it that, or were you acting out because you did have it bad at home? What caused the school life to go so bad?
Yeah. So the reason I brought up the Lance Stevenson and LeBron feud is I was LeBron in that scenario growing up. I played basketball my whole life, but not as good as him by a long shot. He's top two, but I was a LeBron in the sense that like the kids would poke and prod at me and get under my skin and know what to say or how to pick at me, but I got in trouble for reacting back. So a kid would say something or make fun of me or whatever, and I'd flip them off, and instantly I get in trouble. Or somebody, is like literally one time I think I had a girl spit in my face, and I think I just started yelling or something. I don't know. I was just, I'm this like little kid. I'm like, what the heck? Why'd you spit in my face? And, I'm the one that got in trouble. And I'm not playing the victim card. Like other kids will get in trouble a lot too, but because I had that such like a reactionary nature to the bullying and to getting picked on, to where I didn't just like sit there and take it, but I would get angry and I'd lash out. And I never like hit anyone or because I didn't want to, and B, I just, I was a wimpy little kid. I didn't have it in me, and I didn't want to get beat up. But, a prime example is one time, my best friend for a long time, which this was definitely a moment he wasn't my best friend, but my best friend and his brother and a couple of kids were, we were all walking through a baseball field on our way home from school, and I got in a fight with my best friend's brother or something. We just started yelling at each other, and so I walked the opposite way. They're walking the other way, and I turn around and I yell like, fuck you guys, and I start flipping them off or whatever, because I'm just, I'm that classic angry kid or whatever. And one of the friends that was walking with us, for whatever reason, gets super pissed at me and just like starts bolting at me, like going 100 miles per hour. I'm like, oh shit. And I got my book bag on, so I'm like trudging through the, field trying to get away, and he just like tackles me and starts beating me up. And like, that's just the kind of trouble I got myself in, So part of it was like, yeah, kids could smell blood in the water. That's how kids are, unfortunately. It's how they can be. They view someone like weaker than them or whatever, they're going to go for the jugular. But part of it was like, part of it I brought on myself because, I didn't know how to handle all the stuff that was happening at home and then was happening at school. And as far as you asking about the adults, I mean, yeah, I'm not going to lie. I got singled out as the troublemaker, the, quote, troubled kid a lot in school. Again, same reason. I brought some of it on myself. Like the time that I told a bunch of friends this was in middle school. I told a bunch of friends that I was going to like poison the school or that I'd had enough or whatever. And mind you, like, what the hell? Like, what am I going to do? I don't know how to, like, I'm just like flapping my jaw. And then this girl I had a huge crush on, she like called the safety school helpline on me. And I think that was one of the times I got suspended. So, it was both ways, man. Like some of it I brought on myself. Some of it was just unfair, judging or whatever, people not knowing how to handle me. So
I hear you. I feel like that is a thing. That's such an archetype I remember so well from school. I think my brother and I, my brother, we both took some bullying. He had it worse than I did. He's a little older than I did. It's that thing you say of like, yeah, and then you start to bring it on yourself because, nobody's really standing up for you and you don't quite know the correct way to stand up for yourself, and you wind up running your mouth even more and things just compound. And the next thing you know, you're in this like loop. How old were you when you started to realize that that you had gotten the short end of the stick in a lot of ways?
Oh man. I think like now.
Oh wow.
Like if I can be honest, like seriously, I've been thinking about that a lot, how, the older you get, the more you start to kind of look back on the totality of your life, and for me at least, it starts to, and I'm not old, you know, I'm about to turn 30, but like you start to settle in more of like, oh, this is literally the only life I get. And, you know, I want to be so careful about how I word it, because in all reality, she's probably not going to listen. But like I was telling you at the start, you know, I've shared my story a lot publicly, and inadvertently a few times have put my mom in a situation where she feels like and I don't try to do this whatsoever. And I think 95% of the time I'm just saying innocuous things, and she kind of takes it the wrong way. But I put her in a position sometimes where she feels like I'm putting her stuff out there, calling her out or whatever. So I want to be careful I say it, but like, you know, a big reason I think I say now, as far as realizing getting the short end, is like my whole life, my mom has struggled with just like, I think, undiagnosed mental issues, for a very vague way to put it. I'm no mental health expert, and like I said, undiagnosed. I couldn't begin to tell you what it is, but she has her own very painful childhood story where her dad and mom would abuse each other, and she was abused as a child. And, you know, so and obviously the situation with my dad. So I have nothing but empathy and love for her. And she absolutely, like, I will praise her to the end of the day that she did her best as like a single mom to raise my sister and I, given all the circumstances she grew up with, whatever. But that's a big part of it. Is, so on the one hand, I feel like, okay, I'm not complaining, but it's like, I feel like I never had a father figure. And then I've had my mom who's been alive the whole time, but has her own issues, understandably so, and feeling like I've never really had a mom figure. And, so I say now, because it's like, the older I get, the more I feel kind of gypped, to be honest, as far as like, man, I just wish I had an emotional support system in my family, you know? So.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said you're married now, right?
Yeah. Be 4 years in September. Yep.
Congrats.
Thanks.
Is that part of it, you think, as you like, because I'm sure that growing up the way you did, getting married must have a lot of, you must have to take a real deep breath and think long and hard on it. Is it the type of thing that as you're setting up your marriage and giving it the parameters and the stability that you want, that you start to see, does the comparison between what you have now and what is that one of the things that's helping to make you kind of have those realizations around this era of your life?
Oh, big time. Like, my wife's family is, like I said, they have their own, sorry, I got blown this. They have their own issues, but it's like springtime, you know, man, it's just killing me.
The pollen's been killing everybody. In 2018, if there's one thing, we live in a divided country right now, divided times. A lot of people butting heads about a lot of things. It's getting really scary, the level of discourse in this country and how much people are living on the extremes. If there's one thing that we as Americans can all agree on, the pollen has been out of control this spring.
Oh, I thought you were going to say immigration.
No, we can't agree on that by a long shot.
Okay.
I would say that's actually one of the main central, from what I've picked up, that's one of the central things we actually can't find any common ground on. But pollen.
Oh yeah, sorry, I thought you were going different place. Yeah, pollen, I agree.
Yeah, pollen. Yeah, when it comes to like our economic policies, the way we're handling North Korea and Iran, no, we can't. No common ground there. When it comes to political discourse, not much. But pollen, I think we're all on the same page. It's been nuts.
Oh yeah, it's the silent killer. You know, it's just terrible.
Yeah. Or at least makes you sneeze more than you want.
Yeah. So you're asking about where I'm at now, being married. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like so my wife's family. Yeah, her mom and dad have been married for a very long time. I think since their early 20s, and they're just in their early 50s now. So they've been married a long time. So they, in a way, like I've told them before, they like in some ways they've kind of helped me to see what that can look like in a marriage, like, you know, like a redeemed kind of marriage, like it's, you know, something that's for the most part like healthy and good. But just in my own marriage, you know, so I've had examples from them and from like other friends and people I've seen, families I've been around. But so my own marriage, it makes it a huge realization, because I I'm sure most people feel like this when it comes to being married or having kids or career or whatever, but I felt like I'm just making it up as I go along. You know, I have plenty of days, believe me, where I feel like super insecure about being a husband and like I'm just doing nothing but screwing it up. And, you know, it makes me realize like, oh man, I don't know what I really have to go on here. Like I am making it up as I go. So I'm sure you can relate to that. How long have you been married?
I'm also coming up on 4 years in August.
Oh, nice.
August 24th.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, you too. I agree with what you're saying though. I feel like, and again, yeah, I'm very lucky. If I had, despite any problems I had, my parents, very stable people. I was lucky on that. You and I are opposites on that. But I'm sure everybody, you get married and you realize, oh, everybody's faking it. There's no guide. There's no guidebook to this. Nobody gives you like a breakdown of here's the things you have to do to have a stable, happy, healthy marriage. You just kind of wing it and then hope it works out. I have to imagine parenting is the same thing. Everybody's just flying by the seat of their pants, keeping a straight face while chaos erupts around them at all times.
Yeah. No, you're right. And that's been a realization for me too, is the people that I would label as, oh, they're normal or they have their shit together. You know, it's realizing as I get older, exactly what you said, like we're all making it up as we go. And that's what I appreciate about this show so much, is that ability for people to share their story. And you get that sense of like, they're basically saying me too, you know, not to like borrow that phrase for what it's not meant for right now, but they're saying like me too. And like my story, like I can relate to, you know, what you're going through, and here's my story. And you listen to the show and that's the sense you get, is like, oh, they understand what I'm going through, or they would get it, you know? And yeah, I think to me that promotes so much more forgiveness and empathy, because you realize, oh yeah, we're all just kind of making it up as we go. Like
that's very
maybe
nice.
we don't have to hold some of these things too seriously.
That's very nice. I feel like maybe Beautiful Anonymous, we can try to isolate like the catchphrase of like I as well, meaning like I as well understand that feeling. I as well experience feelings like you're feeling, because Me Too has been taken. Me Too is taken. So maybe we can go with I as well have experienced the emotions and pain you're feeling, even though we're very different people who've lived very different lives. I don't want to. Yeah, I feel like Me Too, we gotta let that one run its course with what it is, you know?
Oh no, I don't want to take that one away from what it is whatsoever. I think coming up with a new one, I as well, is genius. Like, what's wrong with it? I as well. Now, how'd you and your wife meet? You mentioned at some point early in the call that you found a surrogate community. I wrote that down because I found that phrasing interesting. Did you meet? How did this all come? What are these communities? How did your wife and you get together? What are we talking here? So, all right.
Surrogate communities. We're going to hear more about those. I'm always interested in those. For me, it was punk rock comedy. I wonder what it was for our caller. We'll find out all that and more when we come back. But first, some ads. Check them out. Products, services that might help your life. If you decide to partake, use the promo codes. Helps the show when you do. We'll be back with more phone call. I want everybody to take a deep breath. Think about how you start your day. Think about how stressful, what a slog the morning can be. Is there any way you could improve that morning? Yeah, there is. There's a way you can have a breakfast that's worth skipping the snooze button for. Thomas's. It's the only breakfast brand that delivers a one-of-a-kind eating experience with its original Nooks and Crannies English muffin. There's nothing quite like that Nooks and Crannies texture. Perfectly toasted to give you irresistibly crispy edges with a soft, warm center. Take it from a true fan, and you guys have heard me over the last few weeks. You know I am a real fan of this product. The secret to revealing that perfect Nooks and Crannies goodness, every time, gently pull your Thomas's English muffin halves apart. Use a fork to split them if you have to. No need to involve a knife in this, okay? Be gentle, okay? Treat that English muffin with the respect it deserves. Lightly toast each half, okay? And then as soon as it pops out of that toaster, you're going to want to top it right away with that butter. That way the butter just melts and pools inside those amazing little Nooks and Cranny spaces. It's a delicious burst of flavor in every warm, toasty, buttery bite. If you have not had them already, you have to toast and butter some Thomas's Nooks and Crannies English muffins. They're truly like no other. Thanks again to everybody who sponsors Beautiful Anonymous. Now let's finish off the phone call. You mentioned at some point early in the call that you found a surrogate community. I wrote that down because I found that phrasing interesting. Did you meet? How did this all come? What are these communities? How did your wife and you get together? What are we talking here?
So, all right. So, a big part of my story that I don't want to leave out is, and a lot of what I try and talk about whenever I get the chance to share my story with people, is this idea of family in a broader sense, right? So I would say there's very much a Beautiful Anonymous family, you know, the Facebook group or people who listen to the show, whatever. We're all kind of like a surrogate family to each other, you know, even though we're not related. And that's what I experienced growing up. And I want to say that's how I feel about Beautiful Anonymous. I don't want to prescribe that on anyone else, but that's the sense I get from it. And so, you know, growing up, I had people like, I started going to a youth group when I was in middle school, and honestly, it was my saving grace. Like, I went there for the free pizza and, you know, the free cookies or after school or whatever. Like, you know, it worked, and I started going there and hanging out. And, you know, my youth pastor at the time was somebody that was like, you know, he was going to the college that I eventually went to and graduated from, and he was just somebody that's cool. Like, he'd come over and say, hey, you want to go play basketball? And, you know, like, just being around that environment was a huge influence on my life. And so, like, in the church, as I was growing up in the church, I found like a spiritual family, I'd call it, you know, just a surrogate family. And then, you know, going into college, because of my upbringing, there were so many things I just didn't know how to do, right? So I remember just not knowing how to do like the simplest things and just needing people to step in and kind of help out. And I'd have so many questions. And so my roommate, and then people I met at school or friends I made, and then their families. And then as I started to go more in a track where I realized, you know, at the time in college, I started to major in youth ministry, and I did a music minor. I was in a band for like 7 years and was convinced that I was going to become a career musician as a drummer. Like, it was my biggest passion. But at the same time, I wanted to, you know, help people like I had been helped, like the family I had found. So youth ministry was just the immediate connection I made into like, well, this is what I've experienced in the church, and I know so many people have so many different experiences with church, but, you know, at that time, my experience was like, oh, these are people that care about me. This is like a good environment, positive community, this is family. And so, you know, that was in middle, you know, growing up high school, college, and then coming out of college, you know, I like, it can be jarring for some people, and it was for me coming out of college and like realizing, oh, I'm not in this immediate, because I lived on campus all 4 years, like, oh, I'm not in this immediate connected community anymore. And it's just continued over the years to be like the different friendships I've made. And I want to be really clear, like inside and especially outside of the church, and like all types of people, the different like friendships and connections and relationships I've been able to like make. And at the end of the day, it was just people, especially when I was younger, that saw through the shitty situation I was in and like saw my potential as a person, or they just treated me with dignity or respect and just kind of cared for me through all my baggage. And those are the people that had the biggest impact on my life. I'm sure a lot of people have those people. I'm sure you have those people, you know, just walk with you through all the crap and come out with you on the other side. And that's super meaningful. You know, that's why I'm at where I'm at.
So wait, you're a youth minister?
No, not at all. No.
I was going to say, you've dropped a few too many F-bombs for a youth minister.
No. Yeah, I don't know how much time we have left, but like I could probably get into that a little bit. But yeah, it's just, you know, no, I'm not a youth minister. I've worked in the nonprofit sector for a long time. That's what I continue to do to this day. Like, I'm the director of a based nonprofit. Like, we do stuff all over the state. And then, but we're a part of like a larger national nonprofit that, like, you know, I'll do stuff in like other parts of the country as well, like similar projects. So, and
is it,
so
is it church affiliate? Is it church affiliated, your nonprofit?
So it started out as like to tie some pieces together here. So I majored in youth ministry, but quickly found out like, okay, like I said, that's what I immediately wanted to do because that's what had helped me. But I realized very quickly through my family's experiences going through like being like a poverty situation, my dad passing away, like almost immediately after my family went through that period where they didn't have housing, and then then found a place. I started volunteering in college at like a local homeless shelter. And I was putting all these things together in my brain of like my own experiences and then stories of like other people's stories I was hearing that were going through hard times, that maybe their poverty was circumstantial or maybe it was generational, but they were just going through it. And I started to put all these things together. And so, like 2011, or no, it was still 2010. It doesn't matter. I started going around to like people and saying, hey, I want to do this charity idea that I have to just go out and be out in the community and help people and bring that sense of family that I had experienced, like out, into people that like just weren't going to church or whatever. And it was more than just, to me, it was more than just, oh, I'm trying to like proselytize, or like, I was never about that and never am, never have been. I just wanted to simply connect with people on a real level, I didn't, so we went out and we started doing, this charity idea, and I found out about this organization that was doing it nationally and contacted their founder and was like, hey, I love what you guys are doing. I'm trying to do a similar thing here. I don't know if it probably won't give too much away, but it was just centered around the idea of helping people pay for their laundry. So we started doing community events where we'd go to laundromats, like work with the laundromat, work with local businesses, churches, whoever. And we would host like a free wash day, and we'd bring laundry supplies and quarters and volunteers. And it just became like a third space in the community where people could connect with each other and experience that sense of family. And that organization, that work has become a really important part of my story, because over the last few years, I'll just be honest, I've really struggled. Like I've waned a lot on things I held to be like foundational to me from a faith perspective. And I really don't, if you like pin me down on it, I couldn't really tell. Like I still believe in God, but I experienced so much terrible shit like in the church and working in a church when I got out of college that it just threw me for a whole loop. But this is the one thing I've clung to, that I know no matter what, here's the person I want to be and here's what I believe in, is helping people that have been through it, that like I can relate to them and say I as well, and like that's been the one value that stuck with me no matter what, is I know that's what I want to do. I know I want to practically help people, and I know that I want to empower people that are going through things similar to what I've been through. And I want to treat them with dignity and with respect, because that was always one of my big frustrations in the church and in the nonprofit world, is that there's so much stuff out there that demeans people, doesn't treat them with respect, doesn't treat them with dignity, is actually selfish, because we're just trying to push our agenda and our belief and like, you must think like I think kind of stuff, rather than just saying, hey, you're a human being. From a theological perspective, you were made in the image of God. From a non-theological perspective, you just matter because you're a person and you exist. So let's focus on that and push all the other shit to the side and just help each other out. And those are the things that, like I said, not, sorry to get into all that, but not, no matter what I've been working through personally from a faith perspective, I cling to that stuff.
Yeah, that's powerful stuff right there. That, I would imagine, especially with your family experiencing some homelessness, that must bubble to the surface real quick. It's really
yeah. I mean, I go to laundromats all over the country, to be honest, and like, I hear so many people's stories, and there are parts I can relate to, there are parts that I can't. But the one thing, like I said, that holds true is, people are much like this show. People call in, you don't know who they are, where they're coming from, what their story is. But I think what you do a great job of, and not to, be like too kiss-assy or whatever, is like, and what you've done with me is like, you listen and you ask good questions, and that's what I think people, just Beautiful Anonymous, community as a whole, are really prone to do, is just empathize with people and treat them with dignity. And that's why I'm so drawn to it, is because it is a diverse group of people coming from all sorts of backgrounds and walks of life and experiences. But the one thing we hold together, and the one thing that's held together in me through all the stuff I've been through, experience, is that idea of just community and building each other up within that, and how powerful that can be for each other.
Thank you for the kind words. It's fun. It's so interesting hearing that you do stuff that's based through laundry. Here's the question I have that I think you'll have a unique perspective on, both because of your personal past and because of the work you're doing now. the image of homelessness, especially I live in New York, so homelessness is a very visible thing. And you see people who are, I mean, very, very rough shape physically and very clearly mentally and emotionally. That's that's like that's the tip of the iceberg, right? That's the tip of the spear. A lot of homelessness is people who are really, need things like laundry, please, because I have a job interview and I got to get the smell out of these clothes. And I think that might get me over the hump. And it's small things. Like I've always heard that one of the things you can do is donate socks. That like socks are one of the big things that like, socks fall apart quick and then people's feet get messed up and then everything else starts to fall apart physically because of that. There's this whole idea of like the cartoon archetype of a homeless person, which living in New York, you do see that, but there's also just the working poor and people who just really want to hold their heads up high. And it sounds like that's the type of thing you're doing.
Yeah, the simple way I've heard it put before, because you're right, there are all different people that, struggle with have struggled in like a homelessness or poverty situation. But I've heard it put before, and the kind of work, that I want to do and perpetuate is stuff that feels like, it's cliche, but like a hand up, not a hand out, so to speak. So, I mean, look, at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer in like, if you're trying to just engage with people and help them, like, and you have that just basic level of compassion for people, that's incredible. Like, let's run with that. And then as far as the more, strategic ways of helping people, like there's a book called Toxic Charity by a guy, Bob Lupton, who runs a nonprofit out of Atlanta that I really love because it talks about all this stuff with how charity can be super helpful to people. And in so many ways it is, but if done in a way that like we disassociate our head from our hearts, like if we're only thinking with our hearts, right, we're not putting our head there also, it can be harmful to people to where, and I just go from personal experience, like my mom, my family growing up, there were plenty of people that brought over groceries or did things to help us out. And it was always, always, always appreciated. I will never disparage it. But like, I know that at the end of the day, the things that really helped me get from point A to point B were the people that were willing to do things that were empowering or promoted my sense of dignity or self-worth as a human. And that's what I want to do with my life, is like you're saying, like there's situational poverty. I've talked to so many people that, they had more money than I'll ever have in my life. And, shit went wrong and they just ended up in a bad situation. And that there's people that it's generational, like it's all their family has known for as long as they can remember and as long as their parents could remember, and it's like, regardless of where a person's coming from or where they're at with it, it's just treating them with that dignity and respect. And it's thinking from a mindset of like, even if you're already doing something involving charity, it's like making a little, I just view it as making a little tweak. Like, what can I do that's going to take this person from being a caricature, like you described it, like the classic things we think of with like homelessness or poverty. What's the thing I can do to like help that person, like meet a basic need? I love that you said with laundry, job interviews, because that's stuff we talk about. We talk to plenty of teachers who can't send kids teachers who deal with parents who won't send their kids to school because they don't have clean clothes. Or I had a guy tell me one time, I just want to walk down the street and not have people walk to the other side of the street because I smell bad, So it's like meeting that basic need, like you were saying, but that's where we try and connect the two dots is like, yes, we want to meet a basic need, but also what's the deeper, personal level of creating family or a positive community environment where people can, build a support system or make connections to feel like people, like at the end of the day, I just want people to feel loved and respected and celebrated as people, because I think we all have, an inherent level of self-worth. And that's what people showed me growing up when I didn't think so.
That's powerful stuff right there. Hey, we got 6 minutes left. I want to make sure I ask. I bet a lot of people are wondering. I would regret if I didn't ask. How are your mom and your sister doing now?
Oh man, I feel every time people ask me that, like I feel a twinge of pain. I'm not gonna lie. It's a perfectly reasonable question. But to be honest, like while overall circumstances have improved, it can still be rough. My mom and I don't have like I said, I love my mom. I have nothing but respect for her. She's really done her best, but she's just still continuing to struggle. And, you know, she's in a situation right now, like married to a guy that I don't feel the best about it, but like, as long as she's happy, I'm good with it. Kind of one of those things. And my sister, like she's like viewed this situation very differently than I have. Like whereas I was always like, push, get out, like kind of like wanted to pave my own path, so to speak. She, I think, has felt more demoralized by it, or like has clung to it more. And so she's in a good spot. I mean, listen, you know, trying to keep it in perspective, she is in college. Like, she's on the track to graduate college, to be like the second person in our family, which is incredible. You know, but then there's also things where I think it stunted some of her growth, where, you know, she's just got her first job recently and she's 19, you know, like she's had her own different struggles with it. But, you know, I do want to say in regards to my mom and sister, like, and this is one of the reasons I love my wife so much, is because she has helped me, and like we together have made such an effort to continue to maintain that connection and relationship with them. Because, you know, I can say all this good stuff about kind of the stuff I want to do career wise, but if I can't do that within my own family, like try to maintain a good relationship with my immediate family and keep that connection, then it's worthless. So, you know, at the end of the day, look, I love my mom. They're doing pretty good. I just want more for them. I don't know if that makes sense.
You know what I'm going to say about you? I'm going to make a bold proclamation here. I feel like your life experience is living proof and furthered efforts towards the idea that people are more than they seem on the surface.
Oh man, I'm so glad you said that. First of all, it's encouraging, but secondly, I want to make it clear to like everyone listening. That's what I hear in every single story I've heard on Beautiful Anonymous, and like every person that shares is like, and I'm sure you hear that, but just you cannot. And again, I don't mean to be like a kiss ass, but like what Beautiful Anonymous is doing is so important, because you can't just take the book by its cover sort of deal. Like, you have to get to know people and find, like, we're different and we should celebrate our differences and acknowledge that we're different and unique. But at the same time, like, we have things in common that should bring us together, and we should let that happen also, you know?
I think so. What's the story in your work with charity, in these efforts you're making with this organization? Are there any examples that come to mind of the person who your initial impressions of them were where you were most blown away by how different the story underneath the initial impressions were?
Like, how do you mean? I think so, but clarify.
Like, have you ever met somebody in your efforts? Because I'm sure you meet people. It sounds like you do a lot of work where you meet people who are in hard circumstances, maybe living hard lives. Mm-hmm. Maybe they walk into the room and your initial instinct is to go, whoa, okay. And you think you have some sense of who that person is. But then when they actually get talking, you hear their story, you realize, oh, there's so much more to this than I knew.
Yeah, just off the top of my head, there's one woman that she's been in a few of our projects, and you know, just come to find out, like, you know, so she's there. All we know up front is she's here, she's doing her laundry, like, you know, we're trying to make that connection. And then, you know, come to find out, like, she's someone that works in a local elementary school, helps kids day in and day out, raises her own kids, and even goes so far now as to like donate to our projects, you know, laundry supplies, things like that. And we meet tons of those people. And that's one of the things I love about it, is that idea that, okay, somebody's coming in with this, but, you know, we want people to be able to volunteer and give back and help out and be a part. And there's so many people doing great things in the community that you just wouldn't know it on a weekend morning coming to do their laundry. So yeah, that happens all the time. That's one of my favorite things.
We got about a minute left. What else do we want to get out there?
I just want to say that, you know, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate this community, and it's been a big help to me over the last few years, hearing people's stories. And like you said, let's not co-opt a really important phrase, me too. Let's have our own I as well, and let's keep doing that. Let's keep saying I as well. I think it's powerful.
I want to thank you for fighting the good fight, reacting to your own early circumstances, and now trying to get out there, see if you can't help some other people get through their own adverse circumstances. I think that's pretty cool.
Thanks, man. And hey, go Cavs.
Let's go Knicks. Come on, man. We got to go Knicks. These Knicks are going to bounce back. Let's go Cavs. They're about to get. I don't know. Boston's up 2-0 at the time of this recording. It looks like these days may be done,
LeBron.
My friend. These days.
LeBron. One word. LeBron.
You think LeBron's going to rise from the ashes and carry them above a 2-0 deficit? I think not, my amigo.
Yep.
I don't know.
Rise like a phoenix and destroy them.
Yeah,
destroy
rise
the
like
Warriors.
the Phoenix Suns. I don't know why I said that. Didn't make sense. Caller, thank you so much for calling up. And I hope by the time this airs that I don't know. I don't hope the Cavs win. The Celtics, it's a better story, and it's tough as a New York fan to root for a Boston sports team, but they're the underdog story. So I hope you've actually received bad news as far as the Cleveland Cavaliers go. But if they make the Eastern Conference Finals, I root East. So at that point, sure, go Cavs. Anyway, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for talking about the painful stuff. Thank you for talking about the future stuff, the hopeful stuff, the stuff you hope to accomplish in the world moving forward. I wish you all the luck in the world. I think we're lucky to have people like you who are on a grassroots level trying to help others. Thanks for calling. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thank you to Harry Nelson and Jared O'Connell for coming all the way to the Gethard Show office to deal with a technical nightmare day and slugging through it. Thanks to Shellshag for the music. Thanks to Greta Cohn and the Reverend John Delore for helping me build this show in the early days. ChrisGeth.com is where you can go find all my road dates. I got a lot coming up, so check them out. Maybe I'm coming to your city. Maybe we can hang out. I think that's all the rigmarole. We'll see you next time on Beautiful Anonymous. You guys can hear it in my voice. I was up late last night. On a morning like this, it's hard to find a reason to get out of bed. Oh, wait. No, it's not. Not when you have some Thomas's Original Nooks and Crannies English muffins waiting for you. There is nothing quite like that irresistible Nooks and Crannies texture. Perfectly toasted, crispy edges, a soft, warm center, how the butter pools inside those little nooks and cranny spaces. It is just amazing. It's delicious. There's a burst of flavor in every warm, toasty, buttery bite. Thomas's Nooks and Crannies English muffins are truly like no other. Next time on Beautiful Anonymous, what happens when you randomly receive $1 million? You're not going to tell me about all the things in your life that don't involve $1 million. Like, I know, I live a life that doesn't involve $1 million. I know what it's like to go on the subway and eat at Subway and do there's nothing that involves the word Subway that rich people ever come within sniffing distance of, huh?
Oh, I eat at Subway.
Look, that's why you're the cool millionaire. You're the chill millionaire. You're the chillionaire. You're the chillionaire. That's my new nickname for you.
God.
You're the chill millionaire. That's next time on Beautiful Anonymous. Hey everybody, it's Chris. As you've probably heard, got a new series, Beautiful Follow-Ups. We're following up with some of the all-time great callers from the history of this show. Here's me saying hello to a bunch of them.
Thank you for following up with Beautiful Anonymous.
Hey, Gaff.
Hello, old friend. Hello?
Hello, this is...
I'm not supposed to know that.
It's good to hear your voice, Chris. I'm glad to be able to do this with you.
Hey, it's Gethard.
Hey, Gethard. Good to hear from you.
Hey, is this the Puppet Master?
This is the Puppet Master. How are you?
Hey, this is Gethard.
Chris Gethard, how are you?
Beautiful Follow-Ups. Come join me on Stitcher Premium. We'll all catch up with some old friends together. And guess what? You get a free month if you go to StitcherPremium.com/stories. Use the code STORIES.
Oh, baby, come back. Oh, baby, come back. It's not the same since you left.
Hey, this is Arnie from the comedy podcast Hello from the Magic Tavern, a chat show I host from the magical land of Foon with my co-hosts
Usador, the Blue Wizard,
and Chunt, the Shapeshifter.
Most weeks we interview adventurers,
wedding planners,
ambulatory trees.
But this week we have a special episode.
I am so excited to learn about the Earth lore contained in Pride and Prejudice.
We're going to do a book club of Pride and Prejudice.
And you said this is a well-loved book on Earth, right?
Yeah, it's one of those books that people love or were forced to read, or more likely it's one of those I'm gonna get to it.
And some of our most beloved guests are returning to read the book with us and enjoy some drinks and food over book club.
We have Flower, we have Crom the Barbarian.
And Germ.
You know who they are.
Maybe you don't give a crap about what an academic thinks about Jane Austen, but don't you want to know what a wizard and a badger think about it?
Not enough spells.
Not enough grubs.
Not enough sword fights.
Whether you love Pride and Prejudice or have no interest in reading it and just want to listen to a book club go really off the rails, you'll enjoy this week's Hello from the Magic Tavern.
We shall defeat this book!